Let's talk about 7 ways managers quietly retaliate against employees. Now, retaliation at work isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's subtle. And that's what makes it so dangerous. So today I'm breaking down 7 quiet ways managers retaliate against employees and why you need to recognize the signs before it's too late. Now, before I go any further, let's go back and revisit the definition of workplace retaliation, because sometimes people still get that confused. Workplace retaliation is when an employer takes a negative action against an employee for engaging in a protected activity, and that's key. It's not just getting back at an employee for complaining about anything. The law is very specific. It has to be because the employee engaged in a protected activity, such as reporting discrimination or harassment or something illegal on the part of the employer. So, for example, just saying, my boss is micromanaging me. Maybe you went to HR and made a complaint, something like that. That would not be a protected activity because micromanagement is not illegal. So you have to have complained about something that's illegal on the part of the employer, and then have the employer come back and take action against you so that it's deemed illegal retaliation. And retaliation is a claim on its own. So just like you can file a lawsuit for discrimination or harassment, you can also file a claim for retaliation. A lot of times the underlying discrimination or harassment complaint might fail, but the retaliation claim can still survive because, again, that's a claim on its own. So anyway, let's talk about 7 ways that employers tend to retaliate quietly against employees. Start with number 7, cutting your hours. It starts small. Suddenly your hours are reduced or your schedule changes without explanation. Less time means less pay, and it's a way to pressure you out without firing you outright. I've had some of my clients, report that, I used to work a lot closer to work. I complained, and all of a sudden I've been moved to a different location. And so I am having to drive a lot further, which means you're spending more hours focused on work. It's those little things like that, which brings me to number 6, which is changing your shift. Your manager might move you from the best shifts to the worst ones, evenings, weekends, or inconsistent schedules. It feels personal, but it's probably because it is. Again, I see all of this. Anything that's going to make your life a little bit harder, that's, easy for them to change without really having to explain, that's what they do. Another thing is number 5, excluding you from meetings. When you're no longer invited to meetings that you used to attend, it's not just an oversight, it's a quiet way of cutting you out of the loop and weakening your voice at work. It's so funny because I have heard from so many clients that after they file their EEOC charge, the EEOC by law is supposed to let your employer know within 10 days of your filing the EEOC charge that they've had an employee come down and file a charge. And what I have heard from my clients is, it's right around that time that they start noticing all of these closed door meetings. Some of them have noticed meetings even that included their coworkers, and they're still, they're just left out in the cold. And so you kind of know, you look at when you filed your complaint and see when the changes occur, and it's retaliation. I've even had some of my clients who maybe worked as a receptionist And they were the ones to receive their complaint from the EEOC. So they know exactly what it is, and they have to turn it over to their employer. So that's always fun. Number 4, assigning the worst tasks. Retaliation can look like dumping extra work on you, the kind no one else wants to do. It's about making your job harder. Not because it's needed, but their whole objective is to wear you down. And they can be masters at this. Number 3, freezing promotions. Opportunities you were once considered for suddenly disappear. You're told to wait or that you're not ready, but in reality, you're being punished for speaking up. A lot of times when you have problems at work, according to the handbook, you are not eligible for a promotion because you are on probation or you've been placed on a PIP or something like that. I mean, they do all kinds of things to make your life harder. Number 2, piling on unrealistic workloads. Now, some managers retaliate by setting you up to fail, assigning impossible deadlines, too much work, or conflicting tasks. When you can't keep up, they use it as evidence against you. So, you're not really qualified for a promotion because, after all, you can't keep up. That's their game. And number 1, writing you up for minor mistakes. This is one of the biggest. Small errors suddenly become big issues. Things that were once ignored now show up as formal write-ups. It's all about building a paper trail to justify getting rid of you. Retaliation doesn't always look like someone yelling at you or firing you on the spot. More often, it's these quiet, calculated moves that add up until you're pushed out. If you notice these signs, make sure you document everything. Retaliation is the number 1 type of workplace complaint with the EEOC for a reason. And a lot of times it is the easiest to prove because it's just timing. You look at when you complained, what was happening before you complained. You look at what happened after you complained. And timing is everything. I love retaliation claims because they're easy to win. See you next shift.